Is Europe repeating its most dangerous mistake again? Is the continent that claims to have learned its lesson from Russia is now walking straight into the same trap with China? Is weakness today being sold as pragmatism, and dependency is being rebranded as diplomacy? And years from now, will Europeans look back at this very moment, late January 2026 in Davos, and ask how the warning signs were so obvious yet so ignored? Because during the week of January 19th in the Swiss Alps, the message was not subtle. It was not hidden. It was spoken clearly, calmly, and publicly. Europe is open for Chinese money. Not just any money, Chinese money in key sectors. And that should alarm everyone. Davos, where the mask slips. The World Economic Forum in Davos has always been a place of polished language and strategic ambiguity. Leaders come here to speak in carefully constructed sentences, designed to reassure markets, placate allies, and avoid confrontation. But during the 2026 meeting, French President Emmanuel Macron dropped the ambiguity. "China is welcome," he said. "But what we need is more Chinese foreign investment in Europe, in key sectors." That sentence matters more than most people realize. Not because it was shocking, but because it was familiar. Europe has heard this song before. The language of dependence. Investment, partnership, engagement, mutual benefit. These words sound harmless, responsible even, but history tells us they are often the language of dependency, spoken right before leverage shifts permanently out of Europe's hands. Macron did not say Europe needs to become stronger. He did not say Europe needs to rebuild strategic autonomy. He did not say Europe must reduce exposure to geopolitical rivals. Instead, he said Europe needs foreign capital from China in critical sectors. And once again, Europe's leaders are confusing capital inflows with strength. The Russia parallel Europe wants to forget. This is not new. In fact, it is painfully familiar. For over 2 decades, European leaders dismissed warnings about Moscow's intentions. Every alarm bell was met with the same response. Economic integration will moderate behavior. Trade creates peace. Interdependence makes conflict irrational. And so, Europe built its energy system around Russian gas, its industrial base around cheap Russian fuel, its foreign policy around the assumption that Moscow would never weaponize dependency. We all know how that ended. When Russia invaded Ukraine, Europe didn't just face a security crisis, it faced a self-inflicted economic shock, one created by years of strategic blindness. The lesson was supposed to be clear. Never again build critical dependencies on authoritarian rivals. And yet, here we are. Same logic, different flag. Replace Russian gas with Chinese capital. Replace pipelines with supply chains. Replace energy dependence with technological and industrial dependence. The logic is identical. Europe is not being forced into this position. It is choosing it. At Davos, the pitch was simple. Europe needs growth. China has money, and geopolitics should not stand in the way of opportunity. But this framing ignores one uncomfortable truth. China does not invest without strategy. What key sectors really means. When European leaders talk about key sectors, they rarely define them publicly, but the list is not a mystery. Advanced manufacturing, electric vehicles and batteries, critical minerals, green energy infrastructure, artificial intelligence, semiconductors, ports, logistics, and transportation hubs. These are not peripheral industries. They are the backbone of future power. Inviting Chinese investment into these sectors is not economic neutrality. It is a strategic alignment, whether Europe admits it or not. And once control, influence, or leverage is embedded into these systems, it does not leave easily. The illusion of control. European leaders often reassure their publics with the same promise. We will set the rules. We will regulate the investment. We will maintain sovereignty. But regulation has never neutralized leverage. Ownership structures, Supply dependencies, financing mechanisms, and political pressure do not disappear because of regulatory frameworks. They evolve around them. Europe believed it could regulate its way out of dependence on Russian energy. It couldn't. And it is unlikely to regulate its way out of dependence on Chinese capital either. Why Europe keeps making this choice. To understand why Europe keeps repeating this pattern, you have to understand what it refuses to do. Europe refuses to make hard choices. Becoming strong requires sacrifice. It requires spending. It requires industrial policy that angers markets. It requires confronting voters with uncomfortable realities. Dependency, by contrast, is easy. Foreign capital fills budget gaps. Imports lower costs. Short-term growth looks impressive. Political leaders avoid tough reforms. Weakness feels good until it doesn't. Strategic autonomy, a slogan without teeth. European leaders love to talk about strategic autonomy. It sounds bold, independent, sovereign. But autonomy without investment is fiction. You cannot claim autonomy while outsourcing your industrial future. You cannot claim independence when inviting geopolitical rivals into your core systems. You cannot claim strength while avoiding the cost of building it. At Davos, the rhetoric of autonomy collided head-on with the reality of dependence, and dependence won. China's patience versus Europe's short-termism. China thinks in decades. Europe thinks in election cycles. Chinese investment strategies are patient, coordinated, and aligned with national objectives. European policy responses are fragmented, reactive, and driven by short-term economic pressures. This asymmetry matters. While Europe debates regulatory nuances, China accumulates influence. While Europe argues about competition rules, China locks in supply chains. While Europe prioritizes quarterly growth, China plans for 2040. This is not a fair contest, and Europe is choosing to play it anyway. The geopolitical signals sent from Davos. Macron's message was not just aimed at Beijing, it was also aimed at Washington. The subtext was clear. If the United States expects Europe to decouple from China, Europe wants compensation, investment, market access, industrial support. But this strategy carries risk. By publicly courting Chinese capital, Europe weakens its negotiating position with both Washington and Beijing. It signals hesitation, division, and vulnerability. In geopolitics, ambiguity is not neutrality, it is exposure. The cost of not choosing. Europe likes to believe it can sit in the middle, economically engaged with China, security aligned with the United States, and strategically autonomous from both. But history shows that moments of systemic tension do not reward fence-sitting. Eventually, choices are made by markets, by crises, or by adversaries. And when Europe delays choosing strength, it chooses dependence by default. How this ends if nothing changes. If this trajectory continues, the future is predictable. European industries will rely increasingly on Chinese capital, components, and markets. Political pressure will grow to avoid policies that antagonize Beijing. Strategic decisions will be constrained by economic exposure, and Europe's ability to act independently in a crisis will erode. This will not happen overnight. It never does. It will happen gradually, quietly, one investment at a time, just like it did with Russia. The tragedy of Europe's potential. What makes this moment so tragic is that Europe does not lack resources. It has capital. It has technology. It has skilled labor. It has markets. What it lacks is political will. The will to prioritize long-term resilience over short-term comfort. The will to fund its own industrial future instead of outsourcing it. The will to accept temporary pain for permanent strength. China is not winning Europe. Europe is surrendering itself, slowly, politely, and with impeccable diplomatic language. This is a choice, not a fate. Europe's weakness is not inevitable. Its dependency is not unavoidable. Its future is not pre-written. But every invitation extended to Chinese capital in critical sectors is a step away from strength. Every excuse made for delay is another brick in the wall of dependence. And every Davos speech that prioritizes investment over sovereignty brings Europe closer to a future it claims it wants to avoid. Final warning. Years from now, analysts will replay these moments. They will quote the speeches. They will cite the warnings. They will trace the decisions. And they will say the same thing they said about Russian energy dependence. The signs were obvious. The only question is whether Europe will recognize them now, or only after the cost becomes unavoidable. If you believe Europe must stop mistaking dependency for pragmatism, share this. If you believe strength requires hard choices, not easy money, speak up. If you believe history should be learned from, not repeated, challenge the narrative. Because silence is how dependency grows, and attention is where resistance begins. Stay blessed and stay curious.